All right. Hey, boys and girls, welcome back. It's good to see you again. I hope you've been having a great week. Um, Hopefully, it won't be too long. We'll be able to meet back at the church on Sunday mornings. Um, Hopefully, real soon. So tell your parents to keep an eye out on Facebook and stuff like that so that they don't miss when we're going to start back. Hopefully, it'll be real soon. Until then, we're going to keep doing these videos, and we're going to keep talking about our lessons. And today we're going to be talking about the Israelites again, the Jewish people. But before we get into that, think about something with me. Who is your favorite person, your favorite, let's say character on TV? Who's your favorite character on TV, or your favorite character or superhero or something like that? I've got three, and I'm going to show you who they are today. Three, and these are my absolute favorites, but these are really cool people that, you know, if I could, I would like to meet them. And so I'm going to show you who they are. The first one, of course, you probably don't have to guess, is Batman. Everybody knows I like Batman. And so, you know, Batman would be my first one. And then my second one, I don't know if any of you have watched a show called Dragon Ball Z, but there's a guy on there, his name is Goku, and I like him a lot. He's cool. And my third one, this may actually be my favorite because I can't even introduce. I'm just going to have to show you, and you hopefully will understand why Pastor Randall likes this guy so much. Is Captain Crunch. I love some Captain Crunch. All right, so obviously all three of these guys are not really real. Okay, they're characters. But if I had a chance to meet somebody like that, or maybe even like the President of the United States, if you got a chance to meet somebody like that, how do you think you would feel? Would you feel like you'd be able just to run up in there and talk to him anytime you wanted to? Probably not. You might be a little scared to talk to him at first. You might be a little just overwhelmed and about who they are. Even though they're people just like we are, sometimes because of where they are or who they are, we tend to get a little nervous around them. Well, you know, in our Bible story today, we've been talking about the Israelite people. We've been talking about the Jewish people, and they were called Jews because they were from Judah. And so these were the Jewish people. And we've talked about how they were run out of their country to another country by an invading army. And then we talked about how the king had let them go back and rebuild the temple. That's what we've been talking about. And we talked about the prophets and stuff like that. Well, today, what we're going to talk about is a group of those Jews that actually stayed in the country of Persia instead of going back to Judah. And so they stayed, they chose to stay. And so there was a Jewish community in the country of Persia. Well, just like happens a lot with at least two of these characters, there was a bad guy in the picture. And his name was Haman. And there were good guys, good people. There was a Jewish lady, and that's who we're going to talk about today. And her name was Esther. And Esther, believe it or not, got married to the king of Persia. Now, the king did not know that she was a Jew. He didn't realize it. And so, but Esther was the king's wife. She was the queen. Well, her cousin, now Esther, when she was growing up, her parents died, and her cousin Mordecai adopted her. And so he raised her and he took care of her. And so her and Mordecai were really close. Well, this guy, Haman, who worked for the king, he was a bad dude. And he decided that he was going to kill all the Jews. He was going to wipe them out and just kill them all. And of course, when the Jewish people heard this, they got upset, they got scared. And Mordecai, being a Jew, was upset and scared as well. And so Esther could tell that something was wrong with the Jewish people. So she sent a letter to Mordecai and she asked him, what's wrong? Why is everybody so upset? And he told her what was going on and what Haman was planning on doing. And he asked her, he said, look, you're a Jew. If you don't stop him, he's going to kill you too. And maybe this is why you're the queen. Maybe God let you be the queen so that you could save his people. And so Esther was like, well, yeah, I'm the queen, but you got to understand, you can't just go in and talk to the king. He's this big, you just can't walk in and talk to him. In fact, the penalty for doing that is death. The only thing that can save you is if when you walk in, the king holds out his golden scepter or it's like a stick. If he holds that out, then you're okay. He's saying it's okay, you can come on in. And so Esther was a little nervous about that. And so what she did was she told Mordecai, she said, look, have the people fast and pray for 3 days. Now, if you don't know what fasting means, it's sometimes when especially when you're faced with something really big like they were faced with, you will do what's called a fasting. And what it means is you don't partake of something pretty important. A lot of times people fast from food, so they won't eat any food. Instead, they'll pray. And anytime they get hungry, instead of eating, they'll pray. And they do this to show God that they're really serious and that they are really desperate and they need him. And so she asked the Jewish people to fast and pray for 3 days. Well, after that, she would go to the king. No matter what happened, she would go to the king. Well, on the 3rd day, Esther did go to the king, and he saw her, and he held out his golden scepter, and so she was able to come in. And he said, what is it, Queen Esther? He said, what do you want to ask me? I'll give you anything up to half my kingdom. In other words, the king loved Esther, and he told her, I'll give you anything you ask for. I'll give you half of my kingdom if you ask for it. Esther said, would you and Haman come to a feast? In other words, how about you and Haman? Now, Haman's the bad guy, right? But the king doesn't really know that yet. So she says, why don't you and Haman come and I'll fix supper for you. And I'll cook for you. We'll have a big feast. We'll just have a lot of food. And so Haman and the king went to Esther's feast. And after eating, the king said, what do you want, Queen Esther? In other words, again, and he told her again, I'll give you anything you want up to half my kingdom. He knew that she wanted something. And so he was asking her, what do you want? I'll give you anything up to half my kingdom. And she said, come to my feast tomorrow. The king agreed. The next day, Haman and the king went to Esther's feast. Again, she fed them again. So after eating, the king said, what do you want, Queen Esther? I'll give you anything up to half my kingdom. This guy loved her a lot. Even though he was the king, he was 3 times he's told her, I'll give you anything. Now keep in mind, it's 3 times. So Esther spoke up this time and she said, there is a plan to kill me and my people. The king replied, who is responsible for this plan? This evil enemy, Haman, Esther said. Now, Haman's sitting there. She's like, him? And so the king got mad. He got upset. And he punished Haman. And he made a law to keep the Jewish people safe from their enemies. So that's a pretty cool story from the Bible because, Haman, the bad guy, he was intent. He really wanted to do bad stuff to the Jewish people, and he wanted to kill them all. And he wanted to harm God's people. And God provided a way out of that by allowing Esther to be in a position as the queen to talk to the king and save her people. And that's exactly what happened. Well, while Esther had an enemy called Haman, as Christians, as people who follow Jesus, we have an enemy. And he's called the devil. And he doesn't want us to succeed. He doesn't want us to be happy. He doesn't want us to follow Jesus. Because he doesn't like Jesus. He hates Jesus. And he wants us to not follow him. And those of us who have given our lives to Jesus, the devil will do a lot of things to try to stop us, to try to slow us down, to try to hurt us or whatever, to keep us from, following Jesus. He will try to stop us from, worshiping Jesus. And, there was a time way back that he thought he had won. Because, you see, when Jesus came to earth, he died on a cross to save us from our sins. He took our punishment, and he died, and then God rose him from the dead on the third day. Well, that's the whole thing. See, the devil thought when Jesus was crucified on that cross, the devil thought he won. Just like Haman thought he was going to win. The devil thought, I got him now. I got him. I took Jesus out. God said, nah, you didn't. I actually planned on this. I've got you covered. I already have it taken care of. And so he raised Jesus from the dead. And where the devil thought he had won, he actually lost. We won. Because God provided a way for us to be able to live with him forever and ever by making Jesus Christ the Lord of our lives, and giving our hearts to him and trusting in Jesus. And so hopefully today what we've learned is, even though things seem really bad, and sometimes with things going on in the world right now, with the coronavirus and all this stuff, it can seem pretty bad. It can seem like maybe, it's just bad. And don't ever forget that God's got you. God is still in control. Even when the devil thinks he's going to win, God's always going to win. If you ever, when you watch TV, the good guy always wins. God always wins. Because he's not just the good guy. He's the best. All right. Thank y'all so much for being with us again today. I've enjoyed it. And y'all know I can't wait to be there and us do this at church. So hopefully it won't be too long. So anyway, I had a good time today. I hope you did. And we will see you next week. God bless you.